Welcome to the Abington Heights School District Board meeting of September 21st. Would everyone please rise and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. O'Day, can we?
Mr. Medensky.
Here.
Mr. Robeson.
Here.
Mrs. Tierney.
Here.
Mr. Acker.
Here.
All present.
Can I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any comments? I'm going to make one small change to the agenda. We're going to have the report by the student representatives before the superintendent's report. It's not listed on the agenda as it is here. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdullah.
Yes.
Mr. Azar.
Yes.
Mr. Fleming.
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson.
Yes.
Mrs. Karam.
Yes.
Mr. Medensky.
Yes.
Mr. Robeson.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney.
Yes.
Mr. Acker.
Yes.
9-0.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of September 7th, which was a work session?
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Azar.
Yes.
Mr. Fleming.
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson.
Yes.
Mrs. Karam.
Yes.
Mr. Medensky.
Yes.
Mr. Robeson.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney.
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah.
Yes.
Mr. Acker.
Yes.
9-0.
Are there any board reports at this time?
Yes, the AEIO had their first meeting for the school year, and we've received a few requests already, so it's great. The mock trial has actually requested some funds, because this will be the first year in a few years that they'll actually be traveling in person to their meets. So they've requested some funds, and we've had some funds requested from the elementary centers. So it's a great opportunity for our teachers and our administrators to put in proposals for the AEIO to fund. We've also kicked off our letter writing to all of the local corporations for tax credit opportunities, and that will be completed by the end of October. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other board reports?
I guess the Finance Committee met, so that is one that I think we need to talk about. Finance Committee met to just discuss a new proposal that Rod Azar brought to Jim Maribelli's attention, which was to invest some of our reserve funds in the United States Treasuries and how we would go about that. So on the agenda tonight is a proposal to vote to use PNC Bank as our, it's not, excuse me if I'm wrong, it's not the bank, it's the PNC Capital Market.
PNC Capital Market.
Thank you, thank you. So we did have a lengthy discussion on that, and it's very good. The U.S. Treasury, just to let you know, that the Treasury bonds are at a very higher interest rate than, say, just a normal CD right now. So the investment is a good opportunity to raise some revenue.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
And just, Mr. Actor, one more thing for the IT committee. I just want to thank Mr. Azar for working with us and trying to come up with a schedule, because now that we're committee, a group of committee people and we serve on different committees, it's really tough to get the schedule for a lot of people, especially if they're serving on different ones. Plus, I think it helps the public with the regular cadence of when these committees take place. So, Mr. Azar, thank you for that, because I know that's not an easy thing to do with everyone's schedules. But I think it benefits the committees, it benefits the board, and it benefits the public.
Thank you very much. Any other board reports? Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce our student representatives. This is their first meeting, so I'd like to welcome Jordan Colombo, who's our senior representative, and Aiden Lamb, who's our junior representative. Guys, welcome to the school board.
Thank you. Fall season is underway and many sports are doing well. Boys golf is undefeated and has qualified 5 golfers for individual districts. Girls golf is 1-5 and has a match against Tunkhannock tonight. Field hockey is 6-2 this season with a home game tomorrow night versus Small Palmpack. Both girls and boys cross country are undefeated with a home meet on September 28th. Boys soccer is also undefeated, going 7-0. The next home game is Monday versus Scranton. Girls soccer is 6-1 and plays Scranton Prep at home on Friday night. Girls tennis is 9-0 and the next home match is Monday versus Valley View. Girls volleyball is 6-5 with a home game tomorrow night. Senior day for football, cheerleading, and marching band is this Saturday at the Pit beginning at 12.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Mr. Acker. Homecoming will take place October 8th with the football game beginning at 1 o'clock. The football team will be going up against Scranton Prep. The homecoming dance will begin at 7 o'clock, and Spirit Week activities will take place the week October 3rd, leading up to Fun Friday on October 7th. Freshman class officer elections are taking place tomorrow, and Abington Heights High School will be hosting the SATs on October 1st. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aiden, are you planning on being a salesman or a lawyer from that welcome? Thank you very much. The next will be the superintendent's report.
Okay, I believe Maggie's getting that set up. So can everybody hear me okay back there? And while she's doing that, I'll just make another gratuitous plug for our website. We had mentioned earlier, talked about some of the committee meetings. And if you go to our website and you look under school board, you scroll down, you'll see the third one to say board docs and it'll say agendas and minutes. If you have some time, go through there. You'll be able to see committees. You'll be able to see who is on those committees. We'll have the agendas. We have all the archived minutes. So just take a look at that. Another advantage to board docs is we've now started to embed the video within the minutes. So you don't need to go back and forth. You can go right to the minutes and find everything that you need. And just a reminder that all of the other minutes from previous years are archived, and they're archived in the same way that we put them together, which was the agenda and the minutes together. Moving forward, it's going to be a little different. So I just want everybody to understand that as you look through. But it's a little bit of one-stop shopping, so we're pretty happy about that, and we hope the public will be as well. I intend to have a little bit of what I hope to be a brief presentation in the beginning of the year. I like starting the year, setting the tone, setting the pace, talking about what our goals are for the year, and then coming back to the board and the community and the students periodically to update you on those on those goals. We talk a lot about, as we should, our vision at Abington Heights School District, where students are the focus and excellence is the standard. You will hear me talk about focus and excellence ad nauseum because it is our North Star for everything that we do. And when I think about focus, I think about all students within our community. And when I talk about all students within the community, I'm talking about families that have not chosen Abington Heights. Perhaps they have chosen Scranton Prep or OLP or some other schools. And those are our customers all the same. And I've been very open and transparent with the board and I believe the community about what my job is, and that is to have discussions with those families and students about where we fell short. Why are we not number one? Why aren't we the recipient of your greatest asset? So that is something that we've been working on all summer. And we talk about focus and we talk about actions because actions produce results. It's easy for me to talk about excellence. However, I root that in our actions. And that means everything from how we greet our families and students in car lines to yucky things like key performance indicators, how we're going to measure growth in the short term, in the long term, how we're going to change. But it's the details that matter. And sometimes we lose students because of things that we do in the car line. I've been one of those parents. So we have this daily commitment to becoming better at teaching and learning, where we will redefine and exceed expectations, not only our own, but that of the community. And that means that we have to listen to our customers. And what I have behind me is a 12-year chart. It's kind of longitudinal 3-day enrollment trends. And I captured 3 days because that's what we do in the beginning of the year, and it's a consistent number, but I see this number monthly. And what we've noticed since 15-16 is we've been getting more students back, but we also lose some students during the year. I'm happy to say that this year we've seen an increase on the 3-day of 45 students. And as of this morning, it was 58, which was a 1.7% increase, which we haven't seen in the last 12 years. And I talked to our administrators and our teachers about this, not as something we are going to celebrate, although we should. It's a reminder of how precarious education is. We are no longer the only selection parents have, and so we have to remember that every day as we talk about focusing on students. And when I have these conversations with community members, and I did just yesterday, I went to go visit a family where I had 3 children that do not attend our district. And they emailed me, and I went to go visit them. And I was very transparent about where we are. I talked about challenges, and I talked about opportunities. And I hate to talk about or talk in cliches, but I will. I see those challenges and opportunities as the same thing. And I talked about we have some work to do on the curriculum side. We really do. Yes, we have a history of high achievement and excellence. But as I mentioned, we need to redefine that because we could do better. What might it look like when we publish something that's guaranteed that every parent, every student can take a look at and say, yes, that's what the curriculum looks like. And I don't like to go backwards, but that's the type of thing that would have helped us 2 years ago. When you're at home struggling as a parent trying to figure out what your kindergartner, first grader, second grader should be learning, and you're having a really hard time. It should be a point and click, although education isn't as easy as a point and click. But that information should be readily accessible. So I told Dr. Vitale that we need to have a plan. We can't do everything overnight, but we need to have a plan and lay out that plan to our community and to our teachers. And that's what I have here. I'm not going to go over it in detail. Last year we worked on our English language arts curriculum, and it's dynamic. We will be constantly working on it. This year, mathematics, okay? We have that commitment. We need to do that. And that includes not only the curriculum, that includes the resources that we provide our children, that includes the professional development we provide our teachers, that includes the assessments. And when I say assessments, oftentimes it's a proxy for tests, but that's not what I'm talking about. It's about how do we measure progress towards that goal monthly? Do we know we're going in the right direction? So these are the things that we should talk about as a learning organization. And when you think about a learning organization, it starts at the very top. And that very top are the folks sitting around here, this table, elected by the community. They have a lot of responsibilities. And one of the most important is to make sure that we have policy that is aligned with our vision. Policy that supports a focus on students and excellence. And this year, we're going at it with the committees. I told you last year that we're going to try it, we're going to dip our toes in it, we're going to struggle a little bit, and that's okay. And all of our committee members have taken this seriously. We've had a lot of meetings. We're now getting them up, as we should, with agendas and minutes and getting that cadence right. But every single board member here is committed to it. So when we have our technology chair that talks about technology almost every meeting, it's because he cares about it, just like all the other committee members. It's why you have a website where you can get every piece of information that you want. I want you to have that. Even if we disagree, you should have that. We should have a website that's accessible all the time, that doesn't break down, that has all the information that you need, that's meaningful and relevant to you as a family. We should have an infrastructure for technology that ensures that when your children come to school, that they get what we said they are going to get. It means that we should study our facilities to ensure that when your children walk into the buildings that they're safe, that they have all the supplies and resources that they need to be successful and to have excellent outcomes. These are the things that we focus in on our communities. These are the things that Mr. Medensky talked about as finance. We could sit around in a CD and watch the money grow, and let's say we get 80,000, but board members may have a discussion over the weekend, and we have a discussion on Sunday saying, you know what, we could triple that for the community. Those are the decisions that the board makes, and that is just as important as any other decision that we make, and they set the tone. And so I wanted to talk about that today because it plays a very important part when I talk about focus and excellence. With that said, I met with all of our administrators and I said, okay, it's time that we have some measurable goals. We're not just going to get better. Let's start to define it. And I'm showing you goals now, but the next time I come back to you, I'm going to talk to you about the key performance indicators. So these are goals. We have goals for our K-2 students who are not yet being assessed by the state. But we have goals for them, as you could see, and this will be posted so you could see all this. We have ELA goals for our students in grades 3 through 8 relative to PSSA. Yes, we are closing the gap probably quicker than a lot of our peers. Yes, we are exceeding expectations on the state level. Yes, we are exceeding expectations on the national level. And yes, that is not good enough, okay? We need to accelerate that so that our students are ahead and there is a value add to Abington Heights. High school, we take a look at students that are struggling in courses in ELA. We also take a look at our Keystone exams. Mathematics, you will see the same structure. I'm not going to read them to you, but they are specific, observable measures that we are going after. Same thing in science. And then finally, the perceptual goals. And I'll talk about this for a second because it's important. Last year, over 4,000 residents took our survey where we talked about some different metrics within our system. How kids are feeling. We talked about learning. We talked about our teachers. We talked about our leaders. So we were setting a goal for our students to increase the reported sense of belonging. And that is a question that we ask our students. And we talk about belonging. There's all sorts of different metrics. Kids involved in after-school activities, during school activities, the clubs, activities, sports, feeling included. That's a clear indicator of performance and just healthy outcomes. When I was a counselor and I saw students that were disengaged, more than likely, there's a higher probability that they were struggling in school. And as we started to make connections and find relationships and friends and whatnot, we started to see increases in the overall health. And the same thing goes with teachers. I hope that every teacher that walks in the door every single day at Abington Heights is happy, is motivated, and feels a sense of belonging and camaraderie in the school. And these are all metrics that we measure with our teachers: safety, respect, belonging, welcoming. And we've set measures that way. So the principals are sitting in the back there, and I talk to them about what are we doing every single day to focus in on our teachers and students to increase that sense of belonging, that sense of community. Because without that, then those academic outcomes will not follow. And then finally, as a district, we've got parent goals and that sense of welcoming. That's another measure. Every parent should feel welcome when they walk in the school, regardless of the news that may be delivered. If you feel welcome when you walk in the school, you feel welcome with giving us your most trusted asset, that lets me know that you're a valued customer. And when I have those discussions with parents that aren't here, oftentimes they don't feel like a valued customer. So I wanted to give this presentation today to set the tone for the year and what the expectations are, and to tell you that periodically I'm going to come back and I'm going to give some updates to where we are. Inevitably, there's going to be times where we aren't where I thought we would be or I hoped we would be. And President Acker here tells me all the time that hope is not a strategy, despite me using it in public here. But we'll course correct and move forward. But what you can expect from me is to be transparent on that. And that is my presentation.
Dr. Schaefer, thank you very much. I appreciate your openness and candor and the efforts you're making on our students' behalf. The next part of the meeting is for public comment. If you want to make a public comment, we ask you sign a card listing your name and where you live. That we ask you keep your comments to roughly 3 minutes. Our first person is Jacqueline Kochilas. Is that right? Jacqueline, I'm getting the name wrong.
I actually just have a quick question or a thing. Last year, my son was a sophomore in the high school, and he was involved in 2 fights, both started by the other person, twice. He was fined $650 for fighting, or I should say defending himself when this kid attacked him in the classroom twice. It was 2 separate occasions. The officer at the school informed me that if he's in trouble again, he will be arrested on site at the school. All my children have been raised to defend themselves and not to lay down, not to take it, not to get their butts whipped in school, because then they become even more of a target. My question is, instead of them charging a fine that large for self-defense, why don't they have community service at the school or the school district instead of doing that? Make him work it off, not just say, hey, your parents are going to pay money. I understand fighting's not okay. It's not. I tell them if there's every option to walk away, you try to walk away. But when the person continually comes after my son, threatens him, and nothing is being done, what do? What does he do? I was unfortunately not able to make it most of last year because of some issues with work scheduling and my children in other areas and having to travel back to California. So this is why I'm asking now, what do we do? What's the other option besides finding your parents hundreds of dollars because your child was defending himself in school? We're clueless. We've never, in California, their motto basically is if you get in a fight, well, you're just going to get suspended, that's it. This boys will be boys, whatever. I was kind of shocked when the school officer said that, basically told me that if he does it again, he's going to be arrested on site and possibly have something on his record for defending himself. And like I said, both times the kid just started mocking him in class. He asked him to stop. He informed the teacher, this kid will not stop talking to me. The teacher said, stop talking to him. Then things transpired. He said that my son threw something at him. Other people said, no, he did not. And that's when fists were starting to be thrown. It was the other kid who first started the fist fightings on both occasions. It was 2 separate children, I may ask. So I just want to know what, instead of charging parents, if this ever happens in the future, I understand it doesn't happen here much in Abington. One of the main reasons why I researched schools and brought my children here. What are the other options besides saying you're going to pay a fine of $300 per offense or $150? I mean, I understand it's up to the magistrator, but is there a different option? I mean,
So I hear you, and I don't know all the details, and I don't want to discuss them publicly. And what we can do after the meeting is that we can have a discussion and dive a little more into that and get more specific with what you're asking.
how do I get reached, or who do I contact afterwards? Okay.
She won't let you
I'm
go.
staying.
She won't let you leave. She won't let you.
Nope, I'm staying. I'm here.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank
and
you.
we'll touch base.
Thank you very much. The next is Patrick Houlihan. Nice to see you again.
I'm sorry?
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see all of you. Thanks for the time. Just wanted to briefly just say, it is very difficult to be a parent in today's world. I'm sure, those of you that are parents understand we are racing every night to practices and trying to juggle doing homework and long commutes. It's just really challenging. And one of the things I'd like to bring to the attention of the school board is increasingly, the way the world is going, increasingly we're starting to see shadows of things in the curriculum, particularly in English and social studies, that are presenting ways to teach English but are presenting provocative material that make it even more challenging to be a parent. And this used to not be the case. I mean, when I grew up, we learned English and we read Shakespeare, we read the classics, we read, like things that there's nothing provocative about it. But now we're starting to see, social agendas and things that not everybody agrees with, and it's creating more conflict for us. So what I'm asking the school board to be aware of is that this is creeping into our curriculum. I have not identified, or we have not identified all of it. The parents are upset about it. I've talked to a lot of them before I came here tonight. That's why I have a little confidence speaking to you, and I'm just asking you to be aware of that. And whatever we can do, Dr. Schaefer, I liked your opening remarks. I share your sense of hope. But I want to have a trustful relationship, and I don't want to have another thing that we have to look at or police with everything else we have going. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Patrick, thank you very much. Are there any other public comments? Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the action and discussion items. First would be the treasurer's report. Mr. Medansky.
Yes, we started the month of August with $9,013,747. We did have an increase of total monthly revenues of $9,936,849, which over $6 million were for current real estate taxes, so they're coming in. And we did have state revenues of $1.8 million, over $1.8 million. But that led us with net disbursements of only $3,811,647. So we started the month of September with $15,138,949.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benansky. May I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Second?
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medansky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker,
Go ahead, Dr. Schaefer.
we are working off a new agenda, so we're figuring all this out here. Mr. Acker, I ask that the board consider a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
Excuse me, we didn't do the bills.
Right, we just did the treasurer's report, we didn't do the bills.
And bills, treasurer and bills report.
May I ask for a motion to approve the bills? Thank you very much, Mrs.
So
O'Day.
moved.
Second.
On the motion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson,
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
Thank you very much, Mrs. O'Day. Now, Dr. Schaefer, personnel report, please.
Fantastic. Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board consider a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson,
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board consider a motion to approve the September 2022 volunteer list.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson,
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming, Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
Mr.
9-0.
Acker, I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve the 2022-23 memorandum of understanding between Abington Heights School District and the Lackawanna County Head Start Program.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Robeson,
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board consider a motion to approve the affiliation agreement between Abington Heights School District and Commonwealth University for teacher education programs. And as a caveat here, and the names escape me, but I believe two of our state-affiliated universities have combined, and this is a result of that. I think it's more of a nomenclature type of thing, but that's what that is.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board approve the contract with Roar Bus Service to provide transportation to Our Lady of Peace when Abington Heights School District is not in school.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion.
I have a question on that. So is it a mandate that we are required to offer transportation to our local areas even though we're not in school, right? Is that a state
Yes.
mandate? Okay, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdullah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson,
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask the board consider a motion to approve the agreement between Abington Heights School District and Scranton Counseling Center to cooperate in the implementation of the Student Assistance Program.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion.
I have a question on that. Dr. Schaefer, can you explain to everyone the relationship between the Scranton Counseling and how they help the Abington Student Assistance Program?
Sure, the Student Assistance Program is a required program within the state, and, you know, despite that requirement, it's just the right thing to do. So we have a program, Student Assistance, whenever students are in need of assistance, whether that be through a myriad of ways that it's presenting itself, whether that's depression, some eating disorders, a lot of things. We have a process in place where we can make a referral. A student can make an anonymous referral, and then we take that and we work with the parents and we work with an outside provider to make sure that we can get some services. In some cases, there's services in the home. It all depends on the need of the student. It could be services also within the school.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Ackert, asks the board consider a motion to consider the resolution to be in compliance with Act 57 of 2022 relating to waiver of additional charges for the late payment of real estate taxes in certain circumstances.
So moved.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Azar? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Ackert, asks the board consider a motion to approve the PNC Capital Markets Customer Agreement and Resolution for the purpose of investing district reserve funds into United States treasuries.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? I'd like to compliment Mr. Medensky, Mr. Azar, Mr. Mirabelli on putting this together. I think it's a great thing for the school district. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Ackert, asks the board consider a motion to approve the Gipper Media Agreement to allow content and graphics to be created throughout social media channels for athletics. As an FYI, when we surveyed families, one of the 5 big things that they really went to our website for was athletics. And before we had some what I would just call typical box score type of updates, we used on a trial basis Gipper so that we could have some photos and some better graphics. The families and the athletes really liked that. So we were asked by the athletic department to do this, and so this provide a much user-friendly update for our parents for athletics.
Can this be expanded besides sports to other activities?
I'll check into that. I don't know the answer.
Can we have a motion, please?
So moved. Sorry. I thought we
Second.
did that.
On the motion, that's okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Okay, the next is informational, and the first item is use of the facilities. I think it's pretty amazing. We have a whole page of use of the facilities, including the Abington Gators, Odyssey the Mind, Girls on the Run, PTAs. I think it's wonderful. Any new business? Dr. Schaefer and Mr. Mirabelli, I'd like to compliment you on keeping your eye on the bottom line with our new agendas, and no backups. I'm pleased to see that the agendas are even typed on both sides of the paper. We're saving, so thank you very much.
If I did that, it was a mistake, I gotta tell you.
Any old business?
It's not that this is old, this is actually new, but I really want to compliment our new athletic department. As one being involved with the athletics this year, the communication has been incredibly successful and positive throughout all of the athletics. All the coaches are getting great communication with the athletic department. There's just an incredible positive start with our new athletic director, so I just want to compliment him and all the administration for helping that transition to take place, because athletics is a very tough, especially in the fall with a brand new start. So I just want to compliment our athletic department and all the administrators helping. And I also want to give a shout out to the new middle school administration. I am at the middle school at that bewitching hour every day at 2 o'clock. And watching the administration and all of the teachers and the students and the parents, this is unbelievable to watch this process of these families picking up their kids, the busing going, the children knowing where they're going, and everyone is cooperating. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the middle school and the new administration there. Thanks.
They've even employed our superintendent as a traffic control, so
Yeah,
they're
I've
definitely
seen that.
using every resource they can.
Yeah, no, right. I will say, and despite me telling him that I wouldn't do this, as far as the athletics department, they've done an absolutely incredible job, and like a lot of other industries and areas, we're in need of some assistance. And we do have some openings for game managers. So if
Ticket takers for Saturday's football game pays $25 per game and free admission to the game.
because he's a new AD, I do that once, and that was it. I said I would not mention ticket taking, hot dogs, or anything like that in a public meeting being recorded, but I have. So that's your gift, Enrico, for the year.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I'd call for a motion to adjourn. Thank you all.